From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Brad Turner, in today for Erin O'Toole. How to reduce fatal traffic accidents involving pedestrians at a time when these tragedies are on the rise in Colorado. 135 pedestrians died in Colorado traffic accidents in 2023, the most recent year for which data is available. That's more than twice as many pedestrians as died in traffic crashes a decade earlier, according to a story from the Colorado Sun. But the number of pedestrian deaths has actually decreased in one city. Officials in Boulder have reported 0 pedestrian deaths in 7 of the past 11 years. So what did Boulder do to limit and prevent pedestrian fatalities? And what can other Colorado cities learn from Boulder? We reached out to Wes Marshall, a civil engineering professor with the University of Colorado Denver, who we've had on the show before. Wes wrote a book called Killed by a Traffic Engineer, which explores how traffic designs often fail to keep pedestrians safe. Wes talked with Erin O'Toole about how Boulder's lack of pedestrian deaths is part of an international project the city takes part in called Vision Zero. It's a program other Colorado cities like Longmont, Greeley, and Fort Collins also adopted.
Vision Zero started in Sweden in the 90s, and the idea is really a fundamental shift where road fatalities, severe injuries are treated as a moral issue that we can prevent through design, through all the stuff we can do as engineers and planners, as opposed to what we normally treat road safety, fatalities, and injuries is more like the cost of doing business, where we're trying to reduce them, but eliminating them has never really been on our radar before.
So kind of seeing these as something that is preventable rather than something that is just bound to happen no matter what.
Exactly. And I think historically it's easy to sort of blame the road users for, when they're speeding or jaywalking, wherever it is, and we just feel like we need to educate them or we need to do some better enforcement. But the reality is, if we take a step back, there are things we can do in terms of the engineering and that side of things in order to improve our results.
And before we talk more about that, I just want to clarify, the zero in Vision Zero refers to 0 traffic deaths. Why might this seem like an impossible goal to some traffic engineers?
Oh, gosh. So around in the United States, we're on an annual basis, we're killing more than 40,000 people every year. So it is a huge public health issue, but just historically, we're trying to just mitigate that and trying to reduce it here and there and not treat it like the public health failure that it is.
Boulder first implemented Vision Zero in 2014. And as we mentioned, they had 0 pedestrian deaths in 7 out of those 11 years. Let's just take one of these things, and that's intersections, because I know that's actually a big subject in your book. What are some of the simple changes Boulder has made at intersections that make a difference?
So on the pedestrian side, you're trying to separate them physically or give them a separate time. So if you're on a big arterial, you're taking a left turn, oftentimes you have what's called a permissive left turn, where, you're trying to look for a gap in the oncoming traffic, take a left turn. At that exact same time, most cities are telling pedestrians it's their turn to cross on the side street.
Right.
If a driver hits that pedestrian, we blame one of the other road users, like the driver's fault, the pedestrian's fault. One of the things Boulder's doing is making that a protected left turn, where we're giving pedestrians the time to cross and cross safely, and then telling the drivers they can go. That's one of the things that is a systematic crash that we treat as human error, but it's something we can fix. And that's one of the things Boulder's starting to do.
Pedestrian underpasses and off-street bike paths are also a big part of Boulder's transportation network. How feasible is it for most cities to separate car traffic from bicyclists and pedestrians?
Boulder, did it back when they were getting some clean water money along the Boulder Creek, and they put in all this infrastructure way back when. So I think what a lot of cities need to realize that this needs to be sort of a multi-decade thing. But those sort of solutions make such a nice environment. I will say a lot of cities, when they have a big pedestrian problem, they want to do this big pedestrian bridge that costs millions of dollars. And really no pedestrians want to use those things. And
They're never where you want them.
They're never where you want them. You have to climb a big staircase. And to me, it's sort of an admission of failure that we can't possibly make the road safe enough. For most cities, that's where you need to start. You need to do stuff that we know works for safety. I mean, safety is about the fundamental physics. So slowing cars down, giving pedestrians their own time. Everyone, if they're okay waiting around for a couple extra seconds, we can usually do so. And that's all it takes.
Well, big picture here, how might Boulder's transportation system serve as a model for other cities? Some of what Boulder has done, like pedestrian underpasses beneath its streets, these fixes are quite expensive, to the tune of millions of dollars. Are these kinds of features just too costly for some cities with less of a transportation budget?
I mean, on one hand, it's easy to say, yeah. I mean, it's hard to find money for these sort of things. At the same time, whenever we need to widen a highway, we can find billions of dollars. Whenever we need a new highway interchange, we can find the money. So it's funny, whenever we're trying to do, a sidewalk or a bike lane, we're looking in the couch cushions for the money. So it's out there, but we're prioritizing different things. And to me, it's too important not to do. We just need the political will to put the money into those priorities.
Boulder is a city that certainly loves bicycling and walking. It is part of the culture. How easily do you think a city that is not as pedestrian friendly might find success in reducing traffic deaths?
And it's a chicken and egg thing. I mean, because for one reason that is part of the culture is because they built a place where it is possible. And I think that's what a lot of places are missing. When you do live in a place where walking and biking is not just possible, but it's safe and it's comfortable, you start seeing a shift. I mean, not just in mode share and in how many people are out there, but a shift in the culture too. So it is possible. It doesn't happen overnight, but you got to start putting your best foot forward and put our money where our mouth is.
All right, Wes, if Fort Collins, for example, asked you to be in charge of their Vision Zero plan, what's the first thing that you would implement?
I mean, I would stop blaming humans for their errors. If somebody jaywalks, it's easy to blame them for jaywalking, but when you zoom out, you often realize the nearest crosswalk was like a half a mile away. And even if you go to that crosswalk, it's not safe. And you start thinking more about the situation you put these folks in, and it ends up being a very rational decision they made given the built environment we put in front of them. So ask why. Like, really try to understand that. And the second thing I say is just get back to the fundamental physics. I mean, reduce speeds. Do something like that really separates the pedestrians and the bicyclists either temporally or spatially, and then you start really changing the fundamentals of what our transportation system looks like and feels like and works like.
Wes Marshall is a civil engineering professor at CU Denver and author of the book Killed by a Traffic Engineer. He spoke with Erin O'Toole. For more reporting on Boulder's traffic policies and pedestrian fatalities in the state, you can check out an article from our partners at the Colorado Sun. Find that link in our show notes and at KUNC.org. And just a reminder that every episode of In The NoCo is available free in our podcast feed. Follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Brad Turner. Thank you for listening.